the Montana Vocational Rehabilitation and Client Services and has worked for the agency for over 11 years. Sherry earned her master's in rehabilitation counseling at the University of Wisconsin Scout and is a certified rehabilitation counselor. Please welcome Sherry Reed Anderson to talk about vocational rehab.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sherry Reed Anderson. I'm very excited to be here. I used to live in Oak Point many years ago, and I haven't come back for about 12 years. So as I rolled into town yesterday and the rain and everything, it brought back a lot of things that I miss about the High Line. I do love the High Line. So I am a vocational rehabilitation counselor by trade. I have been a field counselor. I've been a field counselor supervisor, and I've now moved into business services specialist. And my job is to serve you as businesses. So I'm no longer carrying an active caseload of clients. Businesses across Montana are now my clients. So I have a very large caseload if you want to put it that way. Let's talk a little bit about Voc Rehab and some of the things that you as businesses are struggling with in 2022. Our biggest thing that we're seeing is candidate acquisition. And I know that all of you are saying, where are we going to find our candidates? We have openings, we need to hire, where are they at? Voc Rehab does have a talent pool, and we're going to talk about our talent pool. Some of the other things that we're seeing with hiring issues in 2022 is because of COVID, a lot of jobs went remote. A lot of those jobs are going to remain remote. We are not going to have people coming back to the brick and mortar as they did in the past. I can tell you, like, for an instance, Arizona Voc Rehab sent their 200 some counselors home during COVID and said, you will never be coming back to brick and mortar. So all of those counselors will now be seeing their clients remotely. And that's a struggle. And that's a totally different world for some of us. So then we start looking at candidate experience. One of our biggest things too right now is that we have a talent shortage. The baby boomers, we're getting ready to start retiring. There's those of us that are on the backside of the baby boomers and we're thinking about retirement, but we're not there yet. So what's happened is you have now lost a lot of that experience and a lot of that talent. COVID is still having some direct effects in some of our counties and some of our states across the country. Some of us are still feeling that. And now for the first time ever, employers are starting to see where they're going to have to reskill workers. Again, it goes back to the baby boom. Baby boomers have retired, all that experience is left. You now have some of those moving up the chain, and then you have a huge talent gap. And that talent gap is about 10 to 15 years before you start hitting the next talent fall. So we have a big talent gap and trying to figure out how we're going to get those people up to speed to start moving in as the rest of us baby boomers start going, we're out of here and we're not coming back. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Voc Rehab in general. Where did Voc Rehab start? Voc Rehab is the oldest social service and the first social service in the United States. It came from 1918 when the veterans of World War I were returning home. The federal government said, we need to get people retrained. We need to get them to work. What are we going to do? So they've developed vocational rehabilitation. In 1920, under the Smith-Vest Act, they decided that, hey, Voc Rehab working great for our returning soldiers. We want to now open it to civilians. And then throughout the years, there have been multiple changes to Voc Rehab. I mean, it's looked a lot of different ways, but these are just some of the big ones. In 1973, we had the signing of the Rehabilitation Act, and it has changed periodically. It's amended, but right now we are working under like the second amendment to that. In 1990, we had the ADA signed, and then our last big change was in 2014 with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA. When that act was signed, it had 106 changes to vocational rehabilitation. So it turned vocational rehabilitation around, flipped us in all different directions, and it is still happening today. So we have changes pretty much weekly sometimes, but there's some really big themes that came out of those changes. So improving employment opportunities for people with disabilities. It's no longer looking at a person with a disability and saying they're going to get a job as a janitor or some of these little jobs and stuff and just kind of doing the little things. We want, and the government wants, and the people want careers. So we're really looking at how we can help them meet their career goals. We have an emphasis on providing pre-transition services to youth. So what that is pre-employment transition services. We are now starting to work with youth at the age of 14 or when they hit high school. So that is a group that statistically, when they graduate from high school, were the ones transitioning to mom and dad's couch in the basement, and we're not. And they said, nope, we need them in the workforce. This is a talent pool. We really need to work with them. So that is one thing we have been tasked with. There's 5 specific services involved in pre-EPS to work with a student. It's not about getting a job. It's about learning the pre-employment skills to get a job. Okay, start learning about career. So it's not about getting them a job. The next we have is serving businesses as clients to meet the workforce needs. Again, I am no longer carrying an active caseload of clients. Business is now my clients. So what the question comes down to is, what are you struggling with and how can we help you meet your needs? And then the next thing is that came out of that was serving clients to assist them in, again, meeting their career goals. It's no longer about that little job and putting them someplace for a couple of hours and stuff like that, unless that is their goal. And it's about client choice. So client voice, client choice is really what we're about. So by diversifying your workforce, what can happen? By diversifying your workforce, you can create better solutions for your business challenges. Employees with disabilities have equal or higher performance rates. They have higher retention rates and they have lower absenteeism. They want to go to work. They want to meet your expectations and they want to be there. There is a potential for business tax credits. Some of those tax credits are time sensitive. So when a new hire comes in, sometimes you only have a certain amount of time that you have to get the paperwork in to the state approves it, and then there's a tax credit. Some of those tax credits are up to $2,500 per person. People with disabilities bring unique characteristics and skills to the workforce, which is true. Some of them, maybe they don't do the work exactly the way everybody else does, but they do it differently, and sometimes that opens doors for other innovation in your business. And also, employees with disabilities represent a diverse customer base and give businesses an advantage to a broader market base. That being said, like Nike, some of these different companies have realized that, hey, there's a very large population of people in the United States with disabilities who are not being served, whether it be with clothing or shoes or something. There's been several of those companies that have come up and said, we're gonna look at this and market. And by doing that, they have opened up a huge market that they never knew was there and have actually made a lot of money and they continue to do so. So how can we help you with your hiring needs? Those are the 5 things that we can look at: is recruitment, training, retention, incentives, and diversification. So for recruitment, we do have a talent pool. We currently are serving 2,400 people per year in active cases. We do have people that are considered in extended employment situations, but we go through about 2,400 a year, which doesn't seem like a lot of people, but that means that we're seeing them from the very beginning all the way through their cases. We have cases that could be several years old, but we can provide them multitudes of services. So anything Voc Rehab provides to the client in the way of training or work, we can provide anything that has to do with work. So that could be down to the shoes they wear, could be through a PhD. So it's going to be multi-level, multi-years in some cases. We can hand select qualified candidates from our talent pool. I have employers call me and all the time say, I need some mental health counselors. Do you have anybody graduating? We start looking at our caseloads across the state and seeing who's going to be graduating that we can send out those business leads to. And if they don't have jobs, we start hooking them up with those and say, hey, there's job possibilities for you. Pre-screening of those candidates based on your specifications and what your needs are. And then we can also assist with basic skill preparation for candidates. So you may have someone that you're saying, I really would like to work with this person. I know they have a disability and stuff, and we can help them gain the skills they need for your business. We do partner with adult education, the community colleges, job services, and then the Whitney would do. So we can do also online. So for training, again, our training is to meet your industry standards. So it could be a college, it could be a certificate program, it could be just a little, a 2-hour class that needs to be taken to bring that person's skills or to get them where you need them to be. We also can do disability attitudinal training. We currently use windmills. We have people in all of our 9 offices across the state, and as I'm the lead, we are all trained in windmills. Windmills is an attitudinal training based on disability. In your packet that I gave you, there are 3 pieces of paper, not 4 pieces of paper. One is resources to employers. The other is a breakdown of what the windmills modules are. There's 12 modules. They are standalone modules. You can pick any of those. We can come in and do staff meetings. We can do different kinds of training to groups and to businesses. Anything we provide to a business is free of charge. And we can do trainings either in person or we can do them virtually. But it's a nice training. A lot of times I have the players call me and say, we've hired some people, we're just struggling with, maybe we have one person with a disability that seems that things are just not working out. But sometimes it's just coming in and doing the windmills and having a conversation, people start thinking about what are their internal attitudes for a person with a disability. And we all have them. I mean, I work with it every day, but we all have them. And so we have to really kind of think about that. And sometimes that's all it is to get people to start thinking about, and all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, I didn't realize I was treating them. Because they're not different. They're an employee. They just do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. And then we can also provide resources and for other disability-related training. We do disability etiquette training, again, in person or virtually. So retention. We can assist you with retaining employees. Everyone is going to be touched with a disability at some point in your life, whether it be you, someone you know, an employee. It's a natural part of life, is disability. As we age, aside, some of us wear glasses. Some of us wear hearing aids, our knees hurt, our backs hurt, things like that. It happens. So for retention, you may have employees that you've had for a very, very long time. They're starting to age. They're not seeing the computer screens as well as they used to. They can't reach things as well as they used to. We can come in and we can bring some of our staff who are trained specifically to look at what needs to be, what are the tasks, what are they struggling with, and we can help make comments and give you resources for possibly looking at assistive technology or how we can maybe change those job tasks to meet what you need to do. We can also provide you resources in the community that you may not know about. We do understand disability and how it's going to affect the job and how it's going to affect performance, and we can actually sit down and start having those conversations. You may hire I can guarantee you every employer has somebody with a disability that they probably do not know that they have. And they don't have to talk about it unless it starts becoming an issue in the workplace. So sometimes I have employers calling, I didn't know they have a disability, what do I do now? So we have to sit down and start figuring out where the struggles are and how we can help that employer figure out what the accommodations are. So when you hear the word reasonable accommodation, don't run from that, embrace it. It's a great idea, okay? Most, if you have someone with a physical disability, you're using chairs, wheelchairs, or walkers, things like that. Typically, those are architecture. Architecture is easy. Cut a bigger door. I mean, that's really what it is. Get doors, ramps, things like that. When the hidden disabilities are the really hard ones, the mental health, things like that. And we have a lot of those. So that makes it very difficult for employers to really understand it because you don't see it. We do consult with the ADA. We do access resources for assistive technology. Again, all of you have pieces of assistive technology sitting in front of you. Are cell phones. Those are some of the biggest pieces of assistive technology that are on the market. They were designed for convenience, but for a person with a disability, they're invaluable because you put applications to do just about anything on that little piece, on that little thing. And they put it in their hip pocket. They look like everybody else, so that's when they look like somebody normal. They're great, and that's what they want. They want to be just like everybody else. We can also then help retain and support advancement. So you may have somebody working for your agency or your organization, and they want to move up within your organization. They may need some training and stuff like that. They may need to finish a degree program or something. Maybe they don't qualify for some of the programs through the job service and stuff. They do have a disability. You'd want to really talk to them about, hey, maybe you want to go apply for Rehab services, because if they are eligible for our services, we can help them gain some more training if they need. Killed it. Battery died. I killed it.
I don't think battery died because but battery on something. Oh, on my computer maybe is your. Do you all think I should plug it in?
Something died.
Yes, something did.
Questions once you figure out what Sure.
Yeah. So, the tribe, which had all three efforts.
Yes, okay, so let's talk about that, because yes, that is true. So not all of our tribal nations, but quite a few of our tribal nations have what's called a 121 program. So 121 is a tribal vocal rehab program. And I'm just going to say this broadly, it is supposed to mirror a state vocal rehab. I'm a state vocal rehab, so I'm public. But it does not encompass necessarily all of the services that we do.
You should be good.
Thank you. So what we do a lot of times, we will do partnering with the state vocal rehab and the tribal vocal rehab. If it looks like they do something that they can't handle, they only have so much money. We have a lot bigger pot of money. So if it looks like it's going to be something that they can't necessarily handle within their budget, we really want to talk to them about having a person in life or state vocal rehab so that we can. They do not have a business services specialist, so I have a chance to task and also to work with the tribal vocal rehab, especially one of the many hats I wear is self-employment. So I run our self-employment team, and that is one thing for people who really start their businesses and small businesses, and just really be that contact and help them through that process to keep going and then be able to be sustainable. So that's one of our big things. I also run the customized component, so that is very specialized component of a rehab. So that would be something that I would do. So I will be coming to Max shortly. So I'm really excited about that.
Max is outstanding. He helped me with the chair. And then Tori, my little office in there, she would come see it. It's pretty slick. Got electric desk.
Yep.
All sorts of gadgets, but before you paid for that, I should have done you.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
We get reimbursed.
No, not reimbursed anything you've already paid for.
I need new workstations. So I will.
You need to talk to me about that.
I guess another key component is getting people to work.
Yes.
And I've been told transportation does not fit with what you guys do.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yes, it does.
In how?
And it depends on how you want to look at how transportation. So the question comes down to is, do we have a bus system?
Yeah, we have a couple.
Okay.
I take travel transportation to and from.
Okay. So the other thing is we do have a transportation specialist who is in Helena. And so if we're having issues with getting someone picked up and then taken to their job or whatnot, and there just seems to be this, I'm gonna say, gap in communication and getting them there and stuff. I can talk to Desiree, and Desiree runs the TAC and stuff like that. For us, it's active with the TAC, she can actually talk to them, start figuring out what do they need to do and how can we really get that. That's gonna be one thing. The other thing is and I'm just gonna use you if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if Mark, for
I get
instance.
abused all the time, so.
This is easy, this is really easy. So for instance, get the new chair, I mean, all these things are happening and stuff like that. This vehicle dumps. But now what am I gonna do? Because it's not like we're just gonna go use it in a Toyota. Not gonna fit. So we can either help with some repair work on the vehicle. It may be a situation that because maybe his disability has, I'm gonna say exacerbated, it's gotten worse. So he's having to change a lot of everything that he has around him. We may have to help him purchase a vehicle. We may have to help with a person saying, putting a lift in and getting a lift installed. He may, if he can use hand controls, things like that, that would be something that we could assist with and stuff. He may have to have a driver. He may not be able to physically drive anymore, but he has a vehicle, now he needs a driver. We can help find that driver for that person.
Yeah, well, I've just talked to Tori about that. There's a workshop in Poplar. I have a personal care that I can't talk to. But I wanted to take a workshop. So that's something.
So there would be either a rehab or it could be through one of those different other programs, like for your personal care and stuff like that. They may be able to get paid for that through different sorts of monies. There's always ways to do things. It's hard to know about it ahead of time and start figuring out whose budget are we going to play with and who can steal money from. And I'm really good at that.
So typically, well, there's a path. Right now, Max takes care of a lot of it. But I went through the path. The next.
Havertz would be the state PR office that covers this area. So they come out of Havertz and they cover from the north, from everything from the Missouri River north to the North Dakota border. Okay, when I was a field council supervisor, I was at the Val City office and I covered everything up to the Missouri River, all the way to the state line on the southern border to the North Dakota border as far west as Colster. So I covered all of those and I was a single person in my office for over 5 years. So that was a fun 5 years. Yeah. I'll just tell you. So yes, but have our office would cover this entire area. There's 2 councils out of that office. And there is a pre-employment transition specialist that comes out of that office also as services. Anything else? Let me just finish up here. So let me finish here. So in other incentives, we have, like I said, we have the work opportunity tax credit. We have on-the-job training is one example of a VR service to work with an employer. So say, for instance, you have a client, we've identified them, but they need some training. We can write an OJT contract between you, the client, and Voc Rehab. You can look and say, this is my job description, this is where they're at, and I think it's going to take us 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is to get them trained up. We decided between the 3 of us what you're going to be paying them and stuff like that. You have to actually physically hire that client, get them to work, and then based on the contract, we can do reimbursement. Okay, so we reimburse those wages. So they actually have to be hired on. And the idea is that after the end of the OJT, they're already your employee. You're just going to continue to move them forward. We can help support that in a lot of different ways, but that's just one example. There is a multitude of ways that we can help employers and support employers hiring. And then is there anybody that is Section 503? Section 503. So Section 503 is part of the Rehab Act of 1973, and that's for federal contractors. And they basically have to have an agreement with an entity in writing showing where they're going to help diversify, and that would be through Voc Rehab. So a lot of them have contracts or have those letters of MOUs with Voc Rehab that they are going to come to Voc Rehab, and they are going to look at hiring our clients and stuff before they go out and just hire somebody else. And again, diversification. We can help you build your diverse workforce. We can help you bring new perspectives and solutions, and you can create a culture that shows that everybody within your agency and your business is valuable. My contact information, I am in the Miles City office and I travel quite extensively anymore. That is my phone number, and the best way to get a hold of me is through email. And are there any other questions?
Thank you, Sharon.
I got there's some also places like more clips and stuff, and it's one of you got these, if you'd like more, give it to you, my business card is also in here. But there's some more clips and stuff, and there's some designers also.